So there have already been a lot of 2020 Democratic primary election announcements for campaigns. We know that Andrew Yang, Richard Ojeda, Tulsi Gabbard, Elizabeth Warren, and then Gillibrand recently. And the newest one that we're going to be looking at here is Kamala Harris, current senator and former attorney general of California, the state of California. Now, she's running for president. Now, if you know anything about Kamala Harris, you know that she's more of a sort of centrist-ish Democrat rather than, sort of the Bernie wing. She's moved a little bit left in terms of her public opinion. Now, we don't know what her private opinion is, but her public opinion, she now endorses Medicare for all, but I don't believe her is the thing. That's the problem. So we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive here on Kamala Harris because I want you guys to know the truth, and I hope that, if someone that is thinking about voting for this, you can share them this video and they can find out. I'm going to try really hard to remember to leave the links to all these articles in the description and the thread that I'm going to be talking about here. Now, there is one statement that a lot of people are making about Kamala Harris, and that is Kamala Harris is a cop, okay? And it is a true statement. Obviously, she's an attorney general. She was an attorney general. She was locking people up left and right, and she was essentially perpetuating the prison industrial complex that exists. And she announced on Martin Luther King Jr. Day as a political stunt, a political move, a calculation. And it is a disgraceful and disgusting one because she has spent her career as Attorney General basically terrorizing the lives of poor black Americans. And it's insane how much of a horrible human being Kamala Harris is based on her record. It's really disgusting. And so there's this really good thread, and I'm going to try to remember a link. It's from this user, whose name is Kamala Harris, a little play on the term Kamala Harris. So I'm going to read you guys some of the stuff from this, and I'm going to highlight some of the things that I think are the most important. So it says, 1, as California Attorney General, Kamala Harris defended the state's death penalty laws. So she did indeed defend the state's death penalty law, which was, I believe, stricken down by a lower court. And she was saying, oh, well, it takes a long time because, you need to have all the appeals and everything. And supporting the death penalty doesn't make any sense. It's not progressive in any way. There's literally no rationale for it that I can think of possible, because if you're fiscally conservative, you don't support it. And the idea of having the death penalty, someone getting the death penalty being worse than rotting in jail for the rest of their lives is hilariously stupid. And then probably the most compelling argument is, we know that the death penalty gets it wrong 4% of the time. So what that means is the state is killing innocent people. So with all of those things being summarized, I don't understand how you could possibly support a death penalty. It doesn't make any sense. And then there's also, should the state, be killing people like that? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Anyways, goes on to saying this one's really interesting because she just sent out a tweet on Twitter because there's the news about the trans ban going through. Basically what happened was the Supreme Court said, we're going to let this policy go through. We're going to remove the injunctions that have been put in place. We're going to let it go through and then have a battle in the courts, and then we'll figure out what the answer is on this trans ban in the military. And so in 2015, Kamala Harris sought to block gender reassignment surgery for a transgender prison inmate. So again, there's going to be a long, lengthy theme of her terrorizing the lives of prisoners and black people and poor black people, and it's pretty disgusting. Another one says, Kamala Harris was a firm proponent of civil asset forfeiture, sponsoring a bill to allow prosecutors to seize assets before charges were even filed. Now, this is a huge civil asset forfeiture. Is just a blatant violation of the Fifth Amendment, which grants you the right to due process for anything for life, liberty, and property. So you can't be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process. And if the cop just takes your shit without actually having a court case, you are being bridged from having due process in the process of you being deprived of your property. So obviously stupid, and it's obviously civil asset forfeiture, by the way, guys. That's obviously mostly disproportionately affects poor minorities. So that's another thing as well. Another one. 2010, a judge declared that a San Francisco district attorney, Kamala Harris, had violated defendants' rights by hiding damaging information about a police drug lab technician. So again, another thing of her basically just not being for the people. Now, you could be a good cop and actually, as a good attorney general, and go after crooks on Wall Street or things like one of the cases we're going to get into soon is a great example of where she could have done something right, where she did it wrong. We're going to be talking about the One West Bank and Steve Mnuchin. You could do those kinds of things. But instead, she was using her power to crack down on the lives of poor minorities, which is ridiculous. Here's the one that's the biggest one. So Kamala Harris had refused to go after and prosecute Steve Mnuchin, who's the rich Wall Street guy. He was the owner of he was the CEO of One West Bank, which was illegally kicking people out of homes after the crash. And as California Attorney General, she refused to prosecute him, and it just so happens that he had donated $2,000 to her campaign. So wow, I wonder what that is. So if you were a good prosecutor, a good cop, I think that there's the Philly AG, I believe, is someone like that, where you would go after Steve Mnuchin. You wouldn't spend your time going after people who are trying to do, smoke that green gas recreationally. Instead, you'd be going after Steve Mnuchin. That's what you would be doing, this is what I mean by is disgraceful and embarrassing that she announced on MLK Day, because it's a political calculation to say, oh, I'm black, and I'm doing it on this historic day for, Martin Luther King, that's dedicated to Martin Luther King, when you've spent your entire career, just destroying the lives of black poor Americans. Is horrible. And then there was also her crackdown on truancy, trying to make them misdemeanors, which is, it's abuse. It's just ridiculous. There's no rationale or reason to lock up parents and give them misdemeanors for their kids being truant. That doesn't make any sense. It's overly harsh. It's disgusting, and it's stupid, and it doesn't help anything. It just doesn't make any sense. So she also resisted efforts to make her office investigate police killings, and there are a lot of other things here. She also was in favor of the 3 strikes you're out policy, which I guess the Republican opponent was outflanking her on that, which we're going to get to in another one soon too that's important as well. So here is the most disgusting one in my opinion, and this one really appalled me, and actually I think that this one is unforgivable because it's really horrifying. So here's the thing. There was this guy named Daniel Larson who was found innocent by a federal judge, and she actually had fought to keep him in prison despite him being found innocent by that federal judge. And she was trying to do it based on some weird technicality, which it's a technicality, which is obviously just this sort of way to be able to keep him in jail despite him being proven innocent. And so he was in there for 13 years, and he spent, after the federal judge had deemed him innocent, he had spent 2 more years in jail, and Kamala Harris had filed an appeal against that federal judge's decision, saying that I believe it was he failed to meet the deadline to file a writ for habeas corpus. So you're literally on the front lines of fighting and trying to keep a man in prison who was found innocent. Okay, the man was sentenced to 27 years. The federal judge finds him innocent after, I believe, 11 years being served, and then he spends 2 more in there where she is, trying to keep him in jail. That's unforgivable. This is the problem with Kamala Harris. I mean, you're a cop, you're an AG, and so you have actual prosecuting power, and when you do something like that where you keep someone in jail who is proven innocent, you're a piece of trash, you're a piece of garbage. I have no respect for you. Nobody should have any respect for you because you are attempting to put a man who's been proven innocent and deemed innocent by a federal judge, keeping him in jail. That's fucking disgusting. That was the one of the I think that was the one that stood out for me most. Now, there's another one that says Kamala has defended a prosecuting attorney who slipped a falsified confession into an interrogation transcript. She also tried cracking down on sex workers. Doesn't make any sense. Why? Why would you do that? You're endangering their lives. She basically went after a website where you could find sex work, basically. And so then they had to go to the streets doing it, which is obviously more dangerous. And it's crazy. She also opposed a Supreme Court ruling that was trying to release nonviolent California inmates, something that even Obama favored. And that's what he did. Sorry. I mean, this is a totally separate thing. But remember how he was getting rid of nonviolent drug offenders from prison. Just unbelievable. So this could be the worst one. The worst one. It's between this one for me and the one where she's trying to keep an innocent man in prison. Now, this was one where she fought to keep marijuana illegal. And obviously, as Attorney General, you're literally the one doing these prosecutions. You're the one doing these crackdowns. And so, here's the craziest part, guys. Her Republican opponents believed in the making marijuana recreationally legal. You're getting outflanked by your Republican opponents? How embarrassing is that? Do you have any clue how embarrassing that is? You are such a libshit, okay? Not even a libshit. You're basically a conservative at that point, okay? Because keep in mind that if you look at all of the statistics and all of the data we have, those weed, criminalization laws are all disproportionately used against minorities, which includes black people and Latino people, and then poor people, which is a combo for black people. So you have the gall to announce your presidency on MLK Day as a political calculation, as being, I'm black, MLK's black, this is a black historic day, I want to carry the black vote, when you have spent your entire career terrorizing the lives of black people and poor black people, which is unacceptable. She is just a terrible person. I mean, I have no respect for this woman after reading into her record. She is a piece of shit. There's no other way to put it. Piece of human garbage. As Ben Shapiro would put it, he would say, human garbage, piece of garbage, human garbage. He likes to use that phrase a lot. But, seriously, guys, this is unacceptable. No media coverage should be allowed without having the, twist on it and adding the information of, hey, look at who this is. Like, I just saw a story where I think one of her staffers put out a video of her dancing to Cardi B or something like that. It's like, you disgusting piece of trash. You spent your career locking up people for weed, locking up people for trying to keep people deemed innocent in prison, and you're trying to be all this, like, all happy-go-lucky. Fuck you, man. This is unacceptable. I fucking hate Kamala Harris, honestly. She may be worse than Hillary. That's a tough one to top, but you can let me know if she's worse or not in your opinion. I honestly, it's a tough draw.